Huge breaking news. We spoke about this being bans because guess what? Deal agreed with Crystal Palace. It's worth £35 million. He's now been given permission to undergo his medical, which is going to happen in London. But this, Bella, is a huge deal.
Hello there, welcome along to Good Morning Transfers. 11 days, yes, remaining in the transfer window, and things are moving fast. It could end up being a nightmare window, couldn't it, for Crystal Palace, with Jean-Philippe Mateta wanting out of the club. Former Palace player Darren Ambrose in the seat alongside me, and Chris Reedy, our reporter, here as well. Aston Villa are hit by yet another injury blow as they remain interested in Tammy Abraham. Will the former Chelsea striker make a Villa return? Liam Rosenior is after a centre-back this month, and they're working on a move for Raheem Sterling to leave Stamford Bridge. Ethan Nwaneri is in France and on the verge of joining Marseille from Arsenal. And we're expecting transfer developments at Celtic as Martin O'Neill hopes to bring in a striker for their title push. A very good morning to you. Great to have you with us. What a story to kick off with then. It emerged yesterday afternoon that Jean-Philippe Mateta wants to leave Crystal Palace this month. Darren Ambrose, this is a football club very, very close to your heart, one you know very well, and it looks like another Palace star wants out.
Yeah, and I was speaking about this last night. I think he's been ill-advised by whoever is advising him. I'm led to believe he hasn't or didn't have an agent, whether that's changed or not. But I think he's trying to take advantage of the situation around Crystal Palace, around Oliver Glasner, the captain, Mark Gay, obviously moving on to Manchester City. And I think he's made an error. I think I know Steve Parish very well, and I really like him, really respect him. If he thinks Steve Parish is just going to roll over and say, there you go, you want to leave, I'll see you later with 11 days to go in the transfer window, it's not going to happen.
But we've seen money talks with Steve Parish as well. Right?
Unless whatever it may be, 40, 50 million pound is put down on the table and they have a ready-made replacement ready to come in. I can't see why he's decided now's the right time to do this. I think he should have taken into account and learnt what Mark Gahey done. It's a different situation altogether. He has 18 months on his contract left. Mark Gahey was out of contract, so they needed to either sell up or let him go on a free. There's a World Cup year, there's a World Cup coming up. He broke into the French national team, playing week in, week out at Crystal Palace. So unless he's got some permanent, concrete interest that he knows of, that he's going to go and get straight into the team, whether it's Aston Villa, I know they've been mentioned, I can't see why he's done this. Because there's a real element that if he doesn't get 45, 50 million pounds down and he stays at Crystal Palace, he may not play. And then he's out the French national team, he's out the World Cup team. He's been ill-advised, in my opinion, and I think he's made a massive error. Could come back and bite me, of course. They could get 45 million down today and sell him today, but I can't see that happening.
Chris, what would it take then to force Parish and Palace's hand in January? Because the summer's a different story, but there were talks, weren't they, this week about Juventus and loan fees as well. Darren's mentioning a figure of sort of 40, 50 million pounds. What do we say?
So we believe that Palace still value Mateta at around 35 million pounds. So that's around about the price that we think could get him out of the club at the moment. The question is, and the problem is, like Darren says, is why do Palace need to do this now? With 11 days to go, it's all well and good getting 35 million pounds in, but they have to get a replacement in. We already know the sort of the troubles that have been surrounding the club and Oliver Glasner, the kind of the morale the damage that would have on morale, I think, around the place if you were to let your captain go, first of all, with Mark Gahey, then your top striker as well. Parish, he's a savvy operator, as Darren says, and they're still in a strong position as well because his contract isn't up until 2027, so there's no need for Crystal Palace to kind of do a fire sale. I guess the point maybe I would make, kind of in defence, I guess, a little bit of Mateta and why he's doing this now. Although he's been in a bit of a bad run of form as of late, especially since he got into the French squad, his stock probably is the highest it's ever been in terms of as a player. He is going to be 29 in June, so he starts to become less attractive to clubs, I guess, as that time goes on. probably kind of getting a little bit past his peak right now, even though actually from sort of the form we saw in his early days at Palace, you'd suggest that now is his absolute peak. But I guess selfishly from his point of view, he'll be thinking, while my stock's so high, while I've just got in the French squad, I've got the likes now of Juventus around me. We know that Man United he's been a target of theirs in the past, potentially more of a Ruben Amorim target there as well. But yeah, it's an interesting one, but 35 million is the fee that I think will get him out.
Do you have any sympathy from Mateta's point of view? And I get it, with Palace in your heart as well, and you had some great years there, and the Palace fans will feel like they've had their heart ripped out of this football club, which is kind of what Glasner alluded to after the Sunderland defeat, right? But from his side of things, he's also looking at the creativity that he's lost behind him in Elise, in Zaha, in Eza. Is Wharton going to be the next one off the block?
Yeah.
And the Palace fans don't want to hear that, but the vultures circle and the players leave.
Yeah, look, I understand what he's doing. I do. This is not against Mateta himself. This is what I believe is the right and wrong, and I don't think this is the right time to do this. I think the timing was wrong. If he'd have just waited, gone behind the scenes and said to his agent or his advisors, look, I want to get out, let's organise something behind the scenes. Because they haven't got a ready-made replacement in the club. Eddie Nketiah is not an out number 9, I don't believe. Christantius Uche, again, is young. Can he step straight in? He's played a few European games.
The bench, did he, in the Sunderland?
No, he's played a few European games, scored against Shelbourne, scored against Coops. He's not a replacement for Mateta, so unless he knows someone's coming in... But it's not against Mateta. Like you said, he's going to be 29. He probably wants a big payday. But he has to remember when he did first come in, Crystal Palace took a chance on him, coming from Mainz. His first few seasons, he wasn't particularly good, got a little bit of criticism. Yes, he's become kind of a fan's favourite when he scores. He kicks a corner flag and the song, boom, Mateta's in the room. The fans love him. And to do this now... the timing's all wrong, but the timing's been wrong for Crystal Palace.
Do you not sometimes think, well, as a player, is your handle sort of forced sometimes? Because we know in the summer, Tottenham were in for him before they signed Milani. It was interesting. I was in a press conference with Glasner right at the start of the window, and he said, he was talking about the players that might leave, and obviously we all know about Gahey, but he kind of threw in there, he said JP as well. And it was something that didn't really register with me. I just thought he's just chucking in players. But this is obviously something, just because he said it this week, this is something that's obviously been bubbling behind the scenes for a while.
Of course it has.
And if he doesn't come out and kind of make it public, is there a chance that he might not get his move?
I think everything's being made public at the moment at Crystal Palace, and I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I've not reached out to anyone that I know there. The statement, obviously, from Oliver Glasner 2 weeks before the window shuts. This has created this. This has created what... I feel for Brennan Johnson, by the way, who's come in and he's going to be the last one left. But yes, Adam Wharton, another one that may be mentioned to be leaving. But I go back to Steve Parish is a shrewd operator. He cares for that club, and he won't just roll over unless the money's right.
But he's got a massive job now to rebuild. We know Glasner's going to leave in the summer, and they have rebuilt, and they've got players in the past. You know, you could argue even Ismail Assar and Daichi Kamada, you know, they've done a job, but it's trying to find players at that same level, trying to find a manager that's going to continue those glory days, because winning the FA Cup against Manchester City, the Community Shield against Liverpool, it hasn't got dreamier in the last 10 years, 40 years as a Palace fan, has it? Yeah,
it needs a rebuild. And we have to remember as well that the players we're mentioning, Eze, Elise, Dougie Friedman was at the football club as well, and he was pivotal in those players coming to the club. Adam Wharton as well. And he's not there anymore. So there is a lot of work to be done behind the scenes for Steve Parish, for the powers that be there. And I'm sure they've got replacements lined up. I disagree with Oliver Glasner coming out 2 weeks before the transfer window finishes, because it's going to be real difficult unless you're paying over the odds in terms of wages to attract players to the football club now, knowing that there's not going to be a manager there in the summer. So I disagree with that. But I have full trust. They're not going to get relegated, and they're not going to finish in Europe, in my opinion, unless they win the Europa Conference.
This should have been that, and that was what this year was all supposed to be about, right?
Yes, it was. And again, I think Oliver Glasner made an error against Coops, making 11 changes. I said that at the time when I was covering the game. He made 11 changes. I think that was to prove a point to a certain extent, that he needs help, he needs backup. And then obviously a month later he comes out with the statement, and it's damaged Crystal Palace. But I have full trust that they can turn it around.
Yeah.